Hello everyone, a very good morning. Today is 7th September 2020. In this video, we'll be having a discussion of Hindu editorial page. This is a cartoon of the day, which clearly shows that there is a lack of democracy. Those who questions the democracy, any question, they will not be highlighted, and their powers or the things which have in control will be curtailed. This is what the picture depicts in this cartoon. I welcome you all to Wifi Study Karo. I am Prashanth, where I do daily editorials, technical glitches, and also topic discussion, job updates in this YouTube channel. This is also my Instagram and Facebook page, Wifi Study Karo. Please click like or subscribe if you are Insta. Follow me so that you will not miss any further updates. The first article of the Hindu editorial page is regarding the court's drift and chinks in the judiciary armor. So the author compares with the Prashanth Bhushan case and also what is the criteria, how the courts and judiciary system right now is in the adverse situation, and they are only focusing or giving in support or giving the judgment in concern with the executive cadre rather than the magnanimity issue. So the OPEC, the author is a former judge, the one who penned this article. He just compares the judiciary system. So OPEC is the master of roster system. He also classifies the judges as a master of roster system, and a certain kind of judge are sufficient to destroy the judicial independence. So in this article, he also focused upon if there is a judicial independence that could have served the purpose and also moved into the situation where the government or the powers vested upon them will be fulfilled and a proper judicial system will be maintained. But the significant developments in connection with the Indian judiciary is, the first one was the decision by the Supreme Court of India in the matter of Prashanth Bhushan's contempt case, and second was retirement of Justice Arun Mishra. So these events in their own way magnify the chinks. Chinks means the armor of the Supreme Court. And also the Supreme Court in display is self-proclaimed the magnanimity and let off Bhushan with a fine of 1 rupee in the contempt of court against him over the 2 tweets. So this is what the author says, that the chink, there is a check, and also the generosity and the generous state of the court have been not up the mark. So in alternative, the top court ordered 3 months imprisonment and also 3 years debarment for the practice. This is regarding the Prashanth Bhushan case, what had happened and how the things have went in the earlier. And finally, the verdict with 1 rupee was a kind of a sigh of relief for him. And also, the court said that his conduct, which according to the court reflects the adamance and ego, which has no place in the existing system of administration of justice, and in a noble profession there is no remorse, and is shown for the harm done for the institution which he belonged to. This is what the court have dealt with the Prashanth Bhushan case. And also the author compares with some of the jury the previous cases. Contributions of the decision of the law of contempt will be studied, and this law of contempt of Prashanth Bhushan will be studied for the years and may now be a reason for the court's intended. So wider judicial and legislative community will realize one day how utterly self-defeating this law for their healthy democracy, and eventually change the law of the ground. So the studies have already found that these were the predictable in favor of executive. So author just compares and tells that the judgment will be in favor of executives or political parties. And in the recent times, many columnists, leading scholars and legal luminaries have speculated on the marked and also drift in the Supreme Court away from the rights-based court to the executive court. And the tenure of some of the judges. What the author compares is that Arun Mishra tenure from the past 2014 to 2020 as a Supreme Court judge is a kind of a remote control thing, because he is not taking the control, or he is not giving the judgments into the consideration of proper justice, but he is giving the judgments in favor of an executive body. So it is kind of a remote control, the author clearly says in this article. So the master of roster system was designed for a different era, and indeed may have worked well in the past even, and when we have very tall judges and the judicial independence was rarely doubted. So due to this remote control structure of judiciary system and also master of roster, the judicial independence was not existing. So the National Judicial Appointment Commission was struck down by the court on the grounds of excessive executive interference and also selection of judges. So when there is an interference of someone to appoint the judges to Supreme Court by the politicians or some of the people who are in the power, but the appointment committee did not take into consideration. But what is happening, even though they are not taking into consideration, but the judgment will be in favor of executives. It is also predictable in favor of judges, in kind of executives' favor. So this is what's happening regarding the judgment and the judiciary armor, because executives are chipping away, and because if they give a judgment on basis of in favor of executives, they may get something in compensation after the retirement. As you can see that the judge who was retired was given the MP seat in Rajya Sabha earlier. So this is what's happening in the court's drift and also some of the chinks that it checks in the judiciary armor. The next article is regarding the Tamil Nadu's language formula, how the policy lessons and what is the criteria, and how national education policy is a hindrance to Tamil Nadu's language formula. So the author compares with the another argument of the official language and also with the architect of the Singapore, who is the modern architect of Singapore, known as Lee Kuan Yew, the person who is a very well-known person, is renowned as a modern architect of the Singapore. So this new education policy, the evidence that Tamil Nadu is following a language formula that is distinctly the variance that had for the past 50 years, and also significant positive and social economic changes. So the unauthorized vision is that the decision of Nadu, who realized the Dravidian movement dream of achieving the government power that beyond Tamil and English, in order to the preference, no other language could be taught to the schools at Tamil Nadu, and either a language or a medium of instruction. So this far-sightedness at the decision can be better appreciated if one goes through the language policy adopted by the various developed countries. So most of the countries follow one language formula, invariably of mother tongue. So this is what's happening in the advanced countries for teaching the children in the primary classes. So on reaching the middle school, they are given a vast area or exposure to the learn one or more languages, mostly English. So as there is no imposition through the schools, voluntary learning and other languages is widely prevalent in these countries. But it is if the students of the literate or sociology or people involved in the international trade, their knowledge of 5 or 6 languages is quite normal. So in Singapore, what had happened, so all the countries faced this enormous challenge posed by the new century, invariably given preference to the English language after their mother language. So Japan and Singapore created or cited 2 countries which have handled the language policy as a strategical tool to achieve their socio-economic developments. So Singapore's success in this area is phenomenal and closely comparable to the situation in India. And it was the mission of Lee Kuan Yew, the architect of modern Singapore, which is equal to the status of English and mother tongue as a prerequisite not only to work closely with the international community, but also to bring a big ticket or changes in the system. This is comparable to the unauthorized mission. So Lee Kuan Yew is also attributed to international acclaim of Singapore, received its success mainly from the 2 language formula, though the Chinese birth by his Elias family, and also he had studied from the higher education in Cambridge, and he understood that importance of English, and then undeveloped society is coping with international competition. So importantly, the English is more valuable, kind of more communicative, and the importance of learning English because to have socio-economic relations with other countries or different nations, the English is the kind of a key or the focus success. So the Lee Kuan Yew, the architect of modern Singapore, invented 2 language criteria in their country. So this is what the Singapore have become a significant and a modern Singapore and also they are the role model for different worlds. But this is also now the comparison with this is similar to the unauthorized vision, but what education policy had created that when unauthorized dreamed as a language policy of Dravidian land was actually implemented in Singapore by the Lee Kuan Yew. So Singapore had much more justification to adopt Chinese as its sole official language, as India it's Hindi being the sole official language. Even today population of speaking Hindi is not crossed 50% in India. So in Singapore 74% of the population speak Chinese and 13% Malayas and 9.2 Indians. So if Lee Kuan Yew had wished, he would have declared China to be the sole official language and satisfied the Chinese who were in the majority, but he could have not used any nationalistic tool and cemented his place political forever. He not only selected English but also recognized the language of every social group. He mandated that each Singaporean should learn their responsive mother tongue and along with English. This was the thing which was done by Lee Kuan Yew at the time of his tenure. So the world celebrates the decision made by the Lee Kuan Yew into consideration of the responsibilities and possibilities, limitations and challenges faced as a third world country. So they praise him for the two-language policy which prepared Singaporeans in advance to globalization. So having the experts even discuss the contribution of unauthorized two-language formula, that is background Tamil Nadu, one is developed states and also India, despite not possessing a trade in a big capital like Gujarat or Maharashtra, or having water resources in fertility like Kerala or Punjab or any other political game. So reality checking Tamil Nadu is, though the comparable to Singapore, is in far-sightedness and in front of the India is concerned. So in the present scenario, Tamil Nadu education standards are not comparable to the Singapore's. It is the outcome. So even teaching in the mother tongue and also two language is filled with this challenge. So India take into account of these challenges in teaching of the three language formula. So if India is really interested in the new education policy of creating a new generations, Delhi can acquire the vision only by studying the education economy or the ecosystem throughout the world, comparing with the strengths and weakness of Tamil Nadu. This is what the author means to say, that the policy is violating the system and also two-language official language should be equidistant to all the multilingual society. This is the argument made by the author and also unauthorized. This is regarding the policy lessons in Tamil Nadu language formula. The next article is on financing economic recovery. The regionally coordinated policies will help. So financing are the three keys. So due to this pandemic situation, socio-economic impacts of the pandemic spread across the Asia and Pacific, finance ministries are constituting their efforts to inject the trillions of dollars for emergency health responses and also fiscal packages. So with the continued lockdown measures and restricted borders, economic rebound seems uncertain, and compared to 2019 economic situation over the past 6 months, countries in Asia and also Pacific have been experiencing a sharp drop in the foreign exchange and also earning remittances, tourism and also foreign direct investment. So this is the worrying as a policy makers and also tackling difficulties choice over how to prioritize this development spending while they are continuing of expand for their squeezed fiscal space. So financing is the three keys. The Union nation is contributing through a global initiative that is financing for the development in the era of COVID-19 and beyond. So co-convened by the Canada and Jamaica to articulate the comprehensive financing strategies to safeguard. The first thing is to substantial development goals, and also governments are united to ensure the adequate financial resources and also available to steer any of the sustainable development and also be resilient post COVID-19 recovery. So in Asia, already adopted financing plans is the three key. So they aim to address the challenges of the diminished fiscal space and also debt vulnerability to ensure sustainable recovery, consisting with the ambitious of the Paris Agreement 2030 agenda. The United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia, that is ESCAP, has recently launched the first ever regional conversational series on the Building Back Better. So we are joining the forces with the ministers and also decision makers for the private sectors, heads and international market to share the collective insights of the pathways to be resilient and recovery of this economic in this pandemic times. The growing call for the extending or for the debt moratorium under the global initiatives and also debt service suspension, it is timely, and all central banks need to continue to keep the balance of supporting the economy and also maintaining the financial stability. So this further involves enhancing tax reforms and improving debt management capacities while using the limited fiscal space and also priorities. The regional cooperations also come into picture. No country can take this agenda forward alone, so regionally they need to think together, and coordinated financing policies can restart trade, reorganize supply chains and revitalize the sustainable tourism and also safe manner. So across Asia and Pacific and global governments make a pool of financial resources to create regional investment funds and also strengthen regional cooperation platforms and ensure that all countries receive an equitable number of doses of the vaccine, and also short note to everyone everywhere, in particularly whichever is essential. So this is regarding how to recover the financial economy and some of the measures. It is only possible through coordinated policies. The next article is regarding the mixed messaging on foreign direct investment. So what government has said and how the things should affect. So India efforts to attract the capital will not result in any flood of foreign direct investments till investors sees a policy stability. So Prime Minister elaborated its pitch, an investment destination that could serve as a manufacturing hub in the heart of a global supply chain. Again, the statement made at the US-India Strategic Partnership Forum comes in a backdrop with the government's keenness and use of disruptions of the COVID-19 pandemic had also caused the cross-border moves of goods as an opportunity to lure the potential investors, especially those looking to relocate from China to India. So this tag is consistent with the recent initiatives and also explores some Chinese synergies with the other economies including Japan, and as an escalating border fed costs and also shadow over India's economic and trade ties within its northern neighbors. So the reasoning appears to be that if a few multinational enterprises can draw and set up the manufacturing bases either by shifting the facilities or additional plants, so they will not because Indian economy is again stand to gain FDI, new jobs and tax revenue, but it makes a statement. So clearly officials have said that the US businesses were ideal target given the worsening relations between Washington and Beijing. So due to the disinvestment criteria, some of the conflict between China and India and also the GDP had shrunk down, but again the companies are stepping back instead of coming forward for FDI. This is what author means to say regarding mixed messaging. That's it for the end of discussion. I request you all to subscribe so that you will not miss any further updates. Thank you. Have a great day.